For these young men, the realization that the vast majority of women are jockeying for a very small proportion of men, the top 20%, no doubt drives many to turn toward the in-group to secure their place in the dominance hierarchy. An inability to find pride in your own accomplishments, abilities, or looks will almost certainly make filling that hole with the collective achievements of your gender or race an infinitely better alternative than taking stock of yourself and repairing what you see and don't like. They believe their membership within the collective will compensate for their individual insufficiency.
Many fence-sitting individualists are oblivious to their utter and total impotence. And them being in charge is how it got this fucking bad.
Obviously, this experience isn't limited to the alt-right. By now, nobody is oblivious to the feminist sneaker-fucker men in our midst, championing gender equality in the hope of their flagrant virtue drawing unshaven feminists into their orbit. Not a successful strategy, but it at least puts them in the same crowd. Of course, this is not the only appeal of collectivism, but the biological drive for reproduction, especially among young, sexually deprived men, is not something to be written off. All that being said, the most vocal thread across the alt-right is their inability to comment on any YouTube video without sputtering that the problem the video talks about must actually be the spoiled fruit of them, the Jews.
I would love to hear how you're going to handle me. See, I'm your worst nightmare, because I was born and bred and raised Jewish. You know, you can't fight this war on noticing forever. Are you even going to attempt to answer the actual grievances associated with Jewish racial coalition politics? Are you even going to try to wade into the waters? Are you intellectually honest enough to even give it a first pass? Or do you know that it will get your entire YouTube channel deplatformed potentially? Because the ADL and other primarily Jewish-led groups are the ones running the censorship campaigns. I mean, dude, this is embarrassing.
Any unwillingness to talk about them is mocked as cuckery, the assumption that you're really on board with their paranoid fanaticism, but you don't have the gall to be as courageous as those with Knight Templar avatars typing away at 200 words per minute.
The reason that we have Knight Templar avatars and other things where we can't show our face is because it is instant commercial bankruptcy if you get doxxed. You can't have a job. You can't have friends. It is a complete and total domination of mainstream institutions with 1984 style insta-death if you step out of line with thought police on one and only one issue in the entire world. Why is there only one historical event that's illegal to talk about? Why is it only one group that's immune from criticism? Dude, be fucking honest. Why are you so lazy? Why are you so cowardly? Why aren't you a man? What's wrong with you?
In their view, the truth couldn't be any more obvious, and there is no good faith reason you disagree. They think they've connected all kinds of dots.
I'm listening to this, and my favorite YouTube comment is this one.
That Hollywood is principally Jewish, that Jews occupy a vastly disproportionate share of powerful positions ranging from media, government, and especially finance. The picture of Shakespeare's Venetian merchant is taking up shop in their minds, and business is booming. And what is that business? Erasing white people from the ledger of human history. These ideas gain so much traction for a variety of reasons. Like every ideology, there's always a whiff of truth to mask the scent of fecal matter that strains the underlying foundation. Nobody paying attention to the antics of many on the radical left today can deny that there's an undercurrent of anti-whiteness. They actively deplore the foundation of the United States, and the entire West to boot.
Why do you think the SJWs do this? Do you understand that there is a vast business enterprise wrapped around this? Do you know where the money comes from? Are you familiar with organizations like New Majority Alliance? Are you familiar with the fact that every single medium to large size company in American commerce now has to contribute money and personnel to the power of the diversity industry? Realize what disproportionate share of people in the political system are civil rights legislatures or civil rights parties because of demographics. Demographics. If you don't mention the word demographics in this video, You are lying to the audience.
On the basis that it is built on the subjugation of one minority after another. A disproportionate share of radical leftists happen to be ethnically Jewish, ergo, the alt-right reasons that the Jews are conspiring to displace whites.
But dude, they say it in their own words. SPLC says it. Barbara Specter says it. Nancy Pelosi says it. Biden, financed primarily by Jewish backers, says it. Chuck Schumer says it. I can't tell if people are just cowards to try to preserve their platforms, or if they haven't looked at the underlying evidence.
This line of reasoning and resentment is held by people who follow what may seem to be vastly different ideologies and backgrounds. But in-group preference is a human universal, and the alt-right panders to that expertly. One not-so-obvious parallel would be the widespread hatred of gentrification, by which wealthy white people move into a desirable piece of real estate and open up pricey living quarters and establishments, and supposedly only employ those like them. This obviously lowers crime and increases the general standard of living, but those who can no longer afford to live in the now lavish community are pushed out, leaving them to blame those who move in there and clean up the place for their misfortune. This is obviously something social justice identitarians frown upon, as to them, only poor, non-whites are allowed to lay claim to entire communities. They suppose that the communal institutions, banks, businesses, and homeowners are conspiring to oust the undesirables. Nobody likes to see those from outside their community do better than those within it. When that happens, there is a substantial number of people who are going to assume they've only done so because of some sort of underhanded ploy by the group in question. So even while we know that Jews have an IQ one standard deviation above the norm.
First of all, it's about a half a standard deviation, not a standard deviation, which is a huge difference in the macro. Secondly, there is explicit in-group Jewish identity that is not just permitted, but is a sacred part of the Jewish experience. I can attest to that personally. While you are not allowed to have an explicit white identity. Want to tell me why Jewish collectivism is okay, but white collectivism isn't? Why? 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 Not only that, it's completely disproportionate to whatever you would hypothesize from a half standard deviation higher average IQ. For example, 2% of the population, making up 50% of the white population of Harvard, it's nepotism.
The alt-right believes that the only way they could have accomplished the many feats they have is by exploitation and manipulation. This is a consequence of a broad tendency for people to look at any disproportionality and assume that it was only obtained by cheating. It's judged to be unfair in one way or another, and it is the exact same crutch that the radical leftists the alt-right claims to stand in stark opposition to lean on. Take the wage gap.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more! Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
Guys, I can't finish this video because I am getting dumber listening to this. It would be different if this was somebody who had actually done the research enough to take the other side of it, to say what's wrong with the alt-right, where it fails, what it could do better, what it completely misses on. I'm all good with having those conversations. But this guy didn't say the word demographics. He didn't say it. How the fuck can you purport to represent what the alt-right really is if you don't say the word demographics? If you don't mention any sort of statistics related to actual white genocide, white ethnic displacement. This is the kind of stuff that you shouldn't listen to because it doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't sharpen your toolkit. It doesn't make you more well-rounded. It just brings you down, and you are the combination of the people and influences that you hang out with most. Choose wisely, be healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.